still have a great time for you guys to tune in, watch on Mathline. But here we go. Let's talk about subtraction today. And I hope everybody's got pencil and paper. I don't think, I hope not anyway. I don't think you're going to need a calculator today, all right? So let's play it with your pencils and your paper, and watch me be the first person who needs a calculator, right? Well, if you got it, you got it, all right? So let's see what happens here. In subtraction, we add the opposite, which means basically we change the sign from a positive to a negative, or to a negative to a positive, and we change the subtraction to an addition. So in other words, we're going to add the opposite of the second number. Now, we don't do anything with the first number. Everybody got that? Leave the first number alone. Never mess with it. It's always about the second one. What are we going to do? And then we follow the addition rules. Now, some of you go, Arnie, what are the addition rules? Remember, the signs were the same. We add them together and keep the sign, okay? Basically, we're adding those things called absolute value, how far away it is from zero, whatever. So in other words, you add two positive values together. You just simply add them at their face value and keep the sign. If it's two negatives, you add them together and keep the same sign, all right? If the signs were different, then you would subtract, right? Everybody remember that? Nod with me. And you would take the sign of the one that had the highest absolute value. In other words, the one that was furthest away from zero on the number line. And we got to the point we started to, yes, that's easy to do. Subtract, keep the sign of the larger number, right? That was your kind of your short notion way of getting through it. Now that larger number, when I say that, that is all about this absolute value, okay? How far away it is from zero. The further away, that's the more power of the sign that is going to be in when you're adding two numbers together. Anyway, I digress a little bit. Actually, not too much, because we're going to use that here again in working through our problems. Now, let's take a look at what we've got here. I've got all sorts of 6 examples. Some of you said, Ernie, I've already got them. I've done them. Awesome. Great. Let's take a little bit of a turn through each of these, and then I want us to get to the point where we start doing some mental math. And you know what? Maybe skip the add the opposite step, with one exception, all right? And we'll keep you all thinking about what's that going to be. But let's take a look at our first problem here. 24 minus 20. My goodness, you've been doing that since first grade, second grade? Probably. You don't even have to borrow. You got $24. I take away 20. It's pretty easy, right? You've got 4 left. Now, I want us to use this simple example with the adding the opposite rule, okay? So it's going to make the rest of these easy, right? When things are a little bit crazier, so to speak, as we look at them. But let's talk about it. 24 and adding, it was positive 20. See, it's subtract positive 20. So it's like adding a negative 20. And I know some of you like us to put those little parentheses around. That's okay. And now see what happens? Oh my goodness, we're going to subtract anyway, aren't we? We're going to say 24 minus 20 because the signs are different. You see that? And goodness, what happens? We get 4. How do I know it's positive 4? Because 24 has a bigger absolute value than a negative 20. Got it? Boy, that was simple and sweet, wasn't it? How about our next one? Let's keep our negative 24. Remember, we don't mess with that. We leave it alone. And by the way, if you don't see a sign in front of the number, it's positive, right? Everybody's good on that. You don't need to imagine, oh, did they miss something? No, it's positive, all right. Now, let's kick along here. Let's go to add the opposite rule. So we're going to change the subtraction, you got it, to addition. And it's going to become a negative 20. So it's like adding 2 negative numbers, all right? So when we add 2 negative numbers, we add them at their face value, at their absolute value. And guess what? Guess what? We keep the sign, right? Everybody got that. So we're at negative 44. Straightforward, straight up and down. All right, let's go to our next little problem. This one gets a little funky. We're going to subtract a negative 20. And again, it's nice. We got that little negative. We got the parentheses around it so that everybody's not going to be too confused. But folks, when you see 2 negatives jam in there, that's a sign we're going to definitely need to do the add the opposite moment. And it's going to give me negative 24 at the front end. That does not change. Adding a positive 20. And remember, we don't have to put that positive sign on there. We understand if we don't put it, we're just going to say make these things basically go, change both to plus, and you got plus 20. At this moment, you're thinking, okay, signs are different, right? Addition rule time. Subtract. Take the sign with the higher absolute value. Well, the higher absolute value goes to the negative this time. So we're going to subtract. We're going to get 4 again. How about that? Everything looks like it's going to be either 4 or 44, right? That was part of the game. So today it would be easy. But what we ought to worry about is what sign are we attaching, right? Remember, the show said, what's your sign? And this one, by the way, is going to be negative. I'm going to go with the negative because the absolute value of negative 24 is higher, all right? Now, how about this next one? This next one just blows my students' minds. It used to blow my mind. Then I started beginning to think about it. Okay, it should work. We're going to play the same rule. We're going to add the opposite. And here we have 24. Oh, my goodness, look at that, folks. Plus 20. You know what that gives us? They're both positive, right? Signs are the same. Add them together, keep the sign. Gives us 44. Goodness. So a lot of times when we think about, we're subtracting a negative 20, it's just like adding 20, all right? Just like adding 20, and that's where we come up with 44. So it basically actually, where you start at 24, it moved you to the right 20 spaces, and you got to 44. So we'll continue to creep that little line down there and make a little curve on it. There we are. Now, how about our next one here? Everybody got a good handle on it? This time it's 20 minus 24. Now, let's switch the order a little bit on you. That's all right. You can help. You're on Mathline, right? So we got 20. Keep it alone. Let's just follow the rules. We're going to say plus negative 24. Oh, my goodness. Notice it looks like that one, doesn't it? Well, it's just commutative property in it. We've just got a little switcheroo there, all right? And it's still going to give us negative 4, all right? So that equals to our negative 4. And that's a negative right there. I don't want anyone to tune in and go away. Did he know what he's doing? Sometimes you wonder. You know what? That's a negative 4, okay? Now, let's finish this last one out here. What is going to happen here? We're starting with negative 20. And we're going to do, once again, we're going to play our little add the opposite. In this case, it's going to become an add the positive. So just add 24. Check what we've got going on here. And I'm going to tell you what we have. We have subtraction again, right? This time the positive wins out. The 24 has a higher absolute value than the negative 20 does. And you know what? We're going to keep that sign that is bigger in the absolute value territory, and that's going to give us a positive 4. So checking through, remember what I promised you? We're going to have versions of what? 44 or 4. Here we got the positive 4, as we did at the very end. Here we got a positive 44. Kind of crazy, wasn't that? What about our other little situation here? We had a negative 44, and then we had the negative 4 popping up in 2 places. And folks, when we just take any 2 numbers and decide we're going to play with them till we run out of options, basically, you're going to basically come up with 2 numbers, and then you're worrying about the signs, okay? And you worry about the number first, and then you worry about the signs. So that's kind of the way it works on this. Again, we usually don't give you 8 of one kind or 6 of one kind as we did here, because we ran out of space. But again, just understand, if you understand these little rules here, you'll get to the right answer, okay? So practice time, I think we can practice a little bit. Actually, I'm ready to give you a quick little, how about it? Let's read a word problem. The highest and lowest temperatures in the U.S., this is all time recorded, by the way, 134 degrees Fahrenheit in Death Valley. Everybody knows where that's out in California. And the lowest, it looks like, was negative. That's a negative, my friends. Yes, minus 80 degrees Fahrenheit. That's just unbelievably cold, all right, at Prospect Creek, Alaska. We're going to find the difference. Now, this is where I really think it may help you see, because what we're going to say here, to find the difference, we're going to take the high, I would say there, would make sense, the bigger number, which is 134, and we are going to subtract that negative 80. And I'll put a parenthesis around. Now, y'all say, can you put a parenthesis around there? We'll be glad to. Now, think about it. The difference, what's the distance between them? Here on the right. Did I do that right, guys? I'm trying to think. In my world, it seems like it's a little bit, you've got your, I'll put them here. We got it going here, all right? You've got 134 on one end. You've got negative 80 on the other. And 0 is somewhere in between when you think of a number line. So how many spaces are all between there? Well, guess what? It's just like adding the opposite, isn't it? And that's what we want to figure out. How far apart are these numbers? And when we figure that out, it becomes like plus 80. And that will give us magic 214 degrees. That's quite a range. That is quite the range. That's how far apart those numbers are, those degree measures are. So maybe that'll make a little more sense as why we use that add the opposite moment there, because basically we're trying to figure out how far apart are they? And that's what we're looking for. So there you go, a little bit of a thought process and application. We're always looking for, when do you use this stuff? There's a lot of times you can. There's just one example with weather. And you may want to know, well, you know, if you have a negative account and you have a very positive account, you may want to know, how far apart are those? I don't know. We want to go there, right? So anyway, as promised, we're going to practice a little bit. And I want us to use, I like the term mental math. So let's look at these. Easy numbers, that's why it's mental math. And some of you are saying, well, do you want us to do the add the opposite? I want to talk you through a little bit here. I want you to start noticing something. When we take that negative 13 and add in a negative 14, looks, we still got two negatives, right? So just look at it this way. The negative 13, the negative 14, put them together, add them together. Save yourself this step. You're still pointing out, oh, I've got two negatives. I've got a minus 13, I've got a minus 14. I've got a negative 13, I've got a negative 14. We're just putting a subtraction sign in between the negative 13 and the 14. They work the same way. What do you get? You got it, negative 27. Very straightforward, all right? Now, think about it this way. Here you've got a positive 13. Go ahead and say, I got a negative 14. I want to add them together, all right? Skip the add the opposite. If you want to put it down there, go for it. But I think at a certain point, we want to get away from that and just start looking at this. Hey, positive and a negative, addition rule holds. It's going to be what? Negative 1. You say, well, Ernie, if I put plus a negative 14, would it work? It certainly would. You'd still get negative 1. Isn't that great? Again, more than one way to work the problem. And I'm going to tell you something. As you move up into your pre-algebra and your algebra 1 world, as you get away from 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade math, where you get away from doing these little add the opposites, because if you do all that forever, you're never going to go very far, all right? So you want to start being able to do some things in your head. And that's one of the best things you can start seeing is that this is positive, that's negative. We're in an addition thing, right? We're going to add the opposite, so we get a negative 1. How about our next one here? You say, well, now, Ernie, I really do need to write the add the opposite on that because there's a lot of negatives there. How about doing this? Plus a positive. Let both of those signs just change right there before your very eyes. Because isn't that what you're going to do? When you're subtracting a negative, we want to add a positive. Absolutely. So, hey, oh, that's easy. 13 plus 14, got it. 27. And it did go positive. Remember? How far apart are those numbers? How far apart is 13 and negative 14? Aha! 27 blocks on the number line. Now you got it. You're good, aren't we? Yes. Okay, back to my next one here. Oh, got the 14 and 13. All of them have 14 and 13. How many different ways can I order these things? It's crazy, isn't it? Actually, I think I did get you through, get through 8 different options on this one. Now, let's see where it's going. I see a negative 14. I see a negative 13. Now, do we need to do what we did up here? I hope not. We don't need to write negative 14 plus a negative 13. You've got what? Right off the bat, you look at it. Negative 27. I have a feeling some of you now have just gone and done all of them, right? Let's work through these things. Where is it most important to show the add the opposite? Obviously, when the two negatives get jamming together. When the two jamming negatives get together, we make jamming positives, all right? So that's what it is. So you say, yeah, they're jamming. And we're going to change them to adding a positive. Now it's straightforward, isn't it? You got 14 and 13. We're back to that 27. Same answer there. Well, how far apart are they? They are that many units apart. Now, take a look at this little guy here. Ooh, these are close together. Negative 13 and negative 14, they are real tight, all right? They're right next to each other on the number line, from the standpoint of the integers anyway. Now, how do I get out of this one? I'm going to jam them together, right? We're going to make that plus a positive, and all of a sudden, I have a little subtraction problem. Well, yeah, how close are they? They're 1 unit apart, and that's what we get here. And it's basically saying we're starting at negative 13. Now we're going to add 14 to that, and we do get 1. So that's the amount, that's the distance between them. Now here again, we took the distance between that absolute value, but remember, who was larger? The negative. So there is a difference in that problem right there, okay? So notice signs. As I said, what's your signs? And also, how about the other word? Watch your signs. Make sure you don't do anything goofy. By the way, you've been doing this one since you were probably in first, second grade. 14 minus 13, it still gives you 1. You could write 14 plus a negative 13. It still gives you 1, all right? How about these two coming together? Oh, that's add the opposite, isn't it? Add a positive. And again, we have a negative 1. So again, notice all of our numbers were either 27 or 1 with a negative or positive attached to the final answers of them, okay? So you got 4 different choices going on here. But it's all a matter of, did you add them and keep the sign, or did you subtract and take the sign of what? The larger absolute value. How about it? Was that easy? Let's do another one. Let's see if we can really cut through this one quickly, because I'd like to get a few other things going here. Yeah. Let's see. Simplify. Let's go with it. Use the mental math. You ready, guys? 1, 2, 3, go. Everybody going? All right. First one, I see 2 negatives. Boom, add them, right? We get negative 33. Boom, let's go to the next one. 23 minus 10. You've been doing that forever and ever, right? Ever and ever. Long, long time. Subtract 13. And 23 is larger than 10, isn't it? That's how we make sure it's going to be a positive there, all right? Because the positive 23 wins out in that one. How about our next one here? Oh, 2 negatives jamming, right? Boom, boom. Add the opposite. We're up to what? Positive 33. That's how far apart they are, okay? That's their difference. By the way, that is a plus in case someone's wondering, what in the world did you do that? And here we go, 2 negatives. Not jamming this time, they're separated, right? So it's like a negative 10, a negative 23. We're going to add them together and keep that sign, negative 33. Well, it's the same thing as was there, wasn't it? That's exactly what we're looking at. Ah, got it. Yes, all right. Now, here we have that silly add the opposite again, right? But it's not silly because it helps us. And you know what we're at? We're back to 33. Because both of those are positives. You just add them together, keep the sign. Positive, 33. Don't need a sign, right? On the end. Just keep it 33. How about our next one here? Oh, they add the opposite rule again. I think those 2 negatives jam together. And that's going to give, a negative 23 and a positive 10. You know, the signs are different. Subtract them. In your head, you're doing real quick mental math. How about a negative 13 on this little guy? All right. Got the last 2? I got a positive 10 and a negative 23. Put them together. Negative 13. And how about this one? Play the add the opposite game. Add the negative. Nope. Add the positive, right? You got it. Everybody good? And we have a negative 10. Yeah, be sure you change both signs, dear friends. Don't leave one. You got to do both. Got to do both. That will cause you problems if you don't. And, it's still a subtraction situation, isn't it? And it looks like we're going to get 13. So again, notice here, all possible. We didn't leave any stone unturned here. Everything was covered, and everything came out to be either a negative 13 or a positive 13 or a negative 33 or a positive 33. Those are your 4 options. There were 8 possibilities of arranging those numbers. Did you get them all right? I bet you did, all right? And you know what? What do I give you for a reward? Let's look at another set of numbers here. Let's check out, by the way, we did say signed numbers, didn't we? So it's not all just about integers. It's also about decimals. Yes, you knew it had to happen, all right? And we're going to take care of a few decimal problems here. Everybody good on me? And out there, okay, get those pencils, papers, and let's try to avoid the calculator. Well, you might need one, but I think we can do some mental math again, all right? So finding the difference, that's what we're doing. That's what it means we're subtracting. And you know the rule, right? In our mind, sometimes we need to change some signs. Well, there's the first one waiting for us here. 3 2/10 minus a negative 1.5. We are going to go, yes, that add the opposite moment right there. And that's so easy. You can just quickly do that on your paper. And hopefully you got those problems written down at home. And let's keep moving. I think that's going to give us, 4 7/10. That one's straightforward, right? Mental math time. We could do that, all right? Now, continuing on, let's look over here. Remember we've talked about this? This is like a negative 6, and now we've got a negative 6. No, we got a negative 3 6/10, right? So we've got 2 negatives. We're going to add them together and keep the sign. Absolutely. That's right, absolutely. Absolute value, you got it? All right, I know you do. So we'll put them together. There's a decimal, by the way, behind that 6, just in case you've forgotten. And that's going to give us a negative, and very important negative sign there, 9 6/10, 9.6, however you want to look at it. So far, so good. 2 out of 2, I hope, back there on the home front. Let's take a look at this next one coming up. Adding the opposite. There we go. Those two negatives are jamming, so we're going to change their signs right there. Negative 2 3/10 plus a positive. Oh, my goodness, they cancel out, don't they? Take a 0. Perfect on that, all right? Let's keep working. Keep working. Everybody got it? Moving forward. And yeah, 0 is a good answer. It's okay. Because basically you're saying how far they're the same. Yeah, you're subtracting the same number from itself, right? You get 0. Now, keep moving here. 4 3/10 minus 6.5. Oh, one's negative, so we know the answer is going to be negative because that's a little bit bigger. Let's do some mental math subtraction. I think we're going to go with a 2 2/10. Put a negative on that because it is larger. And ready to move on to the next one. Everybody's good. Oh, I threw you a curve here. We have to borrow in our head. Well, let's think about money, okay? You have $14 and you're going to pay $3.50. What have you got left, all right? So think about it. And it's not $11.50 either. Some of you went, oh, yeah, it's $11.50. No, it is going to be, guess what? 10 and a half or 10 and 50 cents. If you're thinking about your money there for a second. Now, how about our next little problem here? We have, oh, goodness, those are kind of crazy looking decimals, aren't they? Well, let's go with it on the calculator real quick. How about it? 2 36/100ths. And we're going to add these, all right? We're going to add them together. Make sure that's an addition point. And how about it? 1 44/100ths. And see what we get. Okay, and some of you said, I did that mentally, Ernie. I am proud of you guys. So let's put a 3 8/10 down. But let's say one more thing. Aha, I got 2 negatives. Don't forget that. Put your negative on there also. So there you go. There are your decimals. Everybody get on those? 6 out of 6. I hope. I think we got it. Now, got decimals? You know it. A couple of fractions for the road here. So let's take a look at our first little problem. We found we got those negatives jamming again, right? So what's going to happen here? We're going to make this go to add a positive, and it's going to bring us with a negative 3/5. Now you see what we got plus 1/2. Now, don't everybody get too excited out there, but you know what has to happen is still got to do common denominators. So common denominator, it's still the same process. What number will both 5 and 2 divide into evenly? I believe 10 is our best bet. Oh, they're bigger numbers, but oh goodness, 5 times 2 gets us rolling here. So I'm seeing, 5 goes into 10, it'll go 2 times. Let's do a doubling on that negative 3, put a negative 6 up there. By the way, the sign stays there, okay? Don't lose it. Here we have 2 going into 10. What about 5 times? 5 times 1 gives us 5. So in other words, we multiply both of these by 5. We multiply both of these by 2. And that's how we adjusted our numerators. Now, keep the 10. That's good news. That's great news. Now what have you got? You got a negative 6 and a positive 5. You're going to do what? You're going to take care of business, subtract them, keep, oh yeah, absolute value. Negative is larger than the positive one here, isn't it? So we go with the negative 1/10. Now how about our last moment over here? Same story. We're going to do that little add the opposite gimmick. And we've got 3/10 plus, looks like 2/15. So this looks like just adding positive fractions, doesn't it? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do. So let's look for that LCD, which in this case, you're looking at, ooh, Ernie, it's not 1050, 150. No, it's going to be 30. Let's go for the least common because 10 will go in there 3 times. Oh, while we're at it, how about it? 3 times 3 gives you a 9. 15 will go in there 2 times. 2 times 2 will catch you with a 4. And thank goodness, this one's not going to need to be reduced because when we add these together, we get 13 and we got 30. That looked good. This one looked good. And folks, that's all you have to worry about with it is watch for the jamming negatives on the second term and then go back to the addition rules and ask yourself at the end, what's my sign? Or watch my sign. Hopefully you've watched this and enjoyed today.
Hello, I'm David Reynolds, President of Home Federal Bank. On behalf of East Tennessee PBS and Home Federal Bank, I am pleased to announce this year's Be More Award winners. Each month, Home Federal Bank and East Tennessee PBS